Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lion's Den. Here we are for episode 2. I'm here with another special guest. We also are childhood friends. He has been seen on the TED Talk. He works with higher education. Ladies and gentlemen, Edward Freeman.
Hello, everyone. First, I want to say thank you to for inviting me to the Lion's Den today, and I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And also thank you for coming and being a guest on the show. So, how are things? How are you doing?
Things are great. Settling into Massachusetts more and more, halfway through my master's program. So life has just been moving fast, but I can say I'm blessed to be where I'm at, blessed to be in a grad school program, and I'm just keeping pushing.
Wow, wow. So you're in grad school.
Yes.
That seems like a lot. How is that? How are you managing
It
that?
is a lot because I'm in grad school, but I'm also working full time in
Oh.
industry. So my days are pretty long, but I'm learning to balance it just by taking those times to take care of myself, write
Mhm.
down a detailed schedule, and then adhere to that schedule. So it's like you have classes, professors, they don't care about if you're working full time. They don't care
They don't.
about,
Mm-mm.
what you have going on. They want that work done because you have to get a grade. In the
Mhm.
same time, with having a job and working full time, they don't care about if you have schoolwork to study for or anything like that. So I'm learning to balance the two. The first year was a little rocky, but luckily
Mhm.
my grades were still great, still did well. But the second year, I'm learning more discipline. I'm going into it and having a year of experience. I'm a little bit more structured in my time.
Good, good. Yeah, discipline, that's not easy. That is not easy, but that's good though that things are
Discipline
getting better.
takes you a
Mhm.
long way.
It does. Yes, it definitely does. So, like I mentioned earlier, you are a motivational speaker. You're also a scientist. But tell us a little bit more about the work you do because you're an author too, right? And I see you all over doing your speeches and impacting people. So tell us about that. How did you get started with that?
So I got started initially in high school, and this was around the time of my senior year. I decided I wanted to start speaking to middle school about anti-bullying awareness.
Hmm.
And because I was bullied in middle school and a little bit of high school, I said, you know what? I want to start with inspiring the younger generation. And from there, it
Hmm.
kind of launched me into a path of motivational speaking in the education space for higher ed. So um, that was my start. And I started there. And then upon expounding, I started reaching different topics in the education space. And now at 24, I can say it's been coming along with the speaking engagements, but that's where I got my start. And then next, I believe the second part of your question was how did I get started with the book process, right? Or
Or yeah, I mean, just how did your start in motivational speaking, but also then what inspired you to do your book? 'Cause you,
absolutely.
yeah.
So that was my start. And then throughout undergraduate, what I did was I took on speaking engagements on campus with different student organizations as well as different nonprofits. I even had the opportunity to go to Miami for World Stem Cell Day and speak to a crowd of young students down in Miami.
Mhm.
And that was just by virtue of me going to a conference as a scientist. So I'm
Mm.
finding, I guess, with my career being in STEM and also being a motivational speaker, I found ways to merge the two to not only talk about self awareness and motivation, but also find a way to bring awareness to STEM and attracting more Black and Brown students in STEM as well.
Right. That's so good because, we talk about STEM and I don't know, like, I don't think there's a big population of Black and brown in the yeah, in the,
No,
in that
no, I
space,
hate to say it,
so
but it's
yeah.
really sad. For me, I think throughout my master's program, I go to Brown University. It's a school, it's an Ivy League school based in Providence, Rhode Island.
Mhm.
And for me, I don't see that many people that look like me in my class.
Yeah.
And then going to undergraduate at Georgia Tech, it was the same thing. So my mindset is, how can I go in and help the next generation, you know, um, how can I help the next generation build their careers in STEM, and then talk to them about some of the barriers that I encountered going into this industry.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's so good because it's needed. We do need more Black people in STEM because we need to learn, have someone studying about us and all of those things. So that's really important work. And yeah, I'm so proud of you because this is my little brother, y'all.
No, this is like Lauren and I. We go way back. We
We
grew up with each
do.
other, so it's seeing us as adults. Like, we're the new adults. It's time moves by fast.
It's crazy. Ugh. But like you said, we've known each other for a long time, and you're from a small town, Cairo, Georgia.
Yes, yes,
And I mean, it's Georgia for those who maybe don't know about Cairo, but Georgia, it's an old country town, very
yes.
small, you know.
They just
Talk,
might have to take a drive through to see. I'm not trying to talk mess about Cairo, but it is a small town.
yes, you can go there if you're going on your way to Atlanta for sure, if
Yes.
you would like. But with your experience of being in a small town, how did that shape who you are today? And did that have anything to do with you deciding to go into becoming a motivational speaker?
Ooh, absolutely. So one thing I can say about growing up in a small town for me is I didn't see a lot of opportunity
Mm.
growing up. So opportunities were given to those that didn't look like me.
Mhm.
And I remember from a young age, I said, you know what? There's greater than these four walls.
Mhm.
I used to look at a globe and I was like, I want to go here, I want to go there, I want to do XYZ, but I'm going to really have to hustle to make it, because I saw examples of people that I didn't want to be like.
Mm. Mhm.
And that's the thing. And I said, you know what? I'm good at school. I'm good at math. I'm good at science. I like to read. I'm going to stick to my strengths. And I really poured into my education because I knew my education would open up doors for me to make it.
Mhm.
And with growing up in a small town, it felt like the walls were closing in on me sometimes. And that's
Mm.
where that motivation came. If the opportunity doesn't exist in Cairo, I'm going to have to create it. So, like my sophomore year of high school, I started going to programs in Atlanta, doing different programs. Even at FAMU,
Mhm.
there was an open STEM day um, program, and I remember begging Grandma Bean. I was like, Grandma, hey, can you take me down here, because I really wanted to just get that exposure, and I was hungry, and that's where that motivation came from. If you want something, you're gonna have to be hungry for it. You're gonna have to get up and get it, and
Right.
not a lot of people are hungry enough. And I knew, like, in my mind, I said, you know what? Either you're going to settle for where you're at and
Mhm.
you're going to do what society tells you to be, like, oh, you're just another kid from Cairo, or you're
Right.
going to make something out of yourself and get up and get it. And that's
Mhm.
where that motivation to become a motivational speaker, to go into STEM, came from, because I just wanted more than what was around me.
Yeah, I that's very true. And like I said, because I Tallahassee is very close to Cairo, but then also where the church that we went to was
Yeah.
like a sister community. And
Oh,
we definitely saw firsthand how that environment can really just like suck you in to the point where you feel stuck. And we saw that like all the time growing up with a lot of people who had so much potential, but because like they kind of succumb to their environment. So
yes.
that takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of motivation and push to not just yield to that. Um,
Yes. And
yeah.
that's the thing. I saw a lot of people coming up, and it's like they had so much potential. They had it,
Mhm.
but it was a mindset. It was a mindset of, oh, I'm just from here. I'm going to be limited by what's around me and
Mhm.
settling for what's there. And I said, you know what? My mindset has to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
And that's why I try to be as motivational as I can, so other people can see that, hey, if he
Mhm.
did it, I can do it too.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. If you're stuck in that mindset of, oh, like you said, Cairo, Bainbridge, South Georgia, North Florida, basically the same thing. If
Right.
you're stuck, you get it. You get it because we've seen it. We've seen it.
Right. Right. We've seen it. Yeah. Even people that we've, grown up with. It's just
Yeah.
really interesting to see how different paths that we now have, and you're just like, man, you have they're this talented like this. And so that's definitely true. With we've already touched on it a little bit, because you said you did write, you have written a book. It was called
Hmm.
Standing. And this is where you do talk about getting through hard times and heartbreak and to keep going. So talk a little bit more about that for folks.
Absolutely. So I wrote Standing during my sophomore year of undergraduate.
Mhm.
And this at the time was when I was a transfer student transferring into Georgia Tech.
Mm,
So
mhm,
going through that transition of being a transfer student, it was kind of rough.
mm,
New campus, barely any friends, dealing with the rigor of the program that was different from what I was used to. And then on top of that, it's like you're still kind of going through your own personal battles. And for me, I think that period of loneliness, I sat and I wrote a lot.
mm,
I wrote to myself and I wrote to the person that I wanted to become. And that's when Standing
mm,
was born. I said, you know what? You have all these little personal journals. Started going through stuff, and I said, let's do something with this bad boy.
mhm,
And I put there's an app you can use on your phone called Rever or something like that. And I
mm,
started just speaking those journals out, and then
mhm,
somebody transcribed them. And then from there, I got a publicist. And after that, the rest was history. That's where Standing was born. Because I said, if me going through this transition of being a transfer student, the loneliness, the depression,
mhm,
anxiety, feelings of insecurity. And
mhm.
if I could overcome this, then this is a true testament that other people can do it too. And that's why I wrote Standing, because I wanted people to not only see that they can overcome, but they can stand on the person who they were created to be. And that
Mm,
all starts with your foundation, which is one of the first chapters.
right.
Your foundation builds you. Where
Mhm.
you come
Yes.
from. I'm from Cairo. I'll say that any time of the day. I'm from Cairo, so that's my foundation. That's where I started, but that's not where I'm ending.
Right. Yep. And your foundation can also be just, the values that our parents have instilled in us as well.
That part.
And go like reminding yourself of that sometimes, because sometimes you can get kind of lost because you're going through those transitional periods.
Yeah.
But, when you do think about, okay, what did they instill in me? Who am I? Like sometimes you have to remind yourself, who are you? And you know, put that at the forefront so that in those moments you're not just solely suck into your insecurities. So I think that's really important. And,
Yes.
that's a really good book. It's very much needed, especially growing up as, now we're becoming these adults
Yeah.
and getting into that space. So everyone should check it out. It's on Amazon. Go buy it. Okay.
Yes. And it's funny you touched on that, Lauren, talking
Mhm.
about just the values that were instilled in you. I remember moving to Boston, and it
Mhm.
was maybe 4 months of me being up here, starting in industry, trying to figure out my own way. I went through another transition of loneliness. Post grad is real.
Yeah. Oh,
That transition,
it's so
it
real.
hit me like a ton of bricks.
What? Imagine going through a pandemic.
Yeah, that when I
Okay.
tell you, it's like I went from Atlanta to Africa, stayed there for 5 weeks, then came to Massachusetts in the middle of the winter to start work.
Wow.
In the middle, like, and that was like 2022. People still
Mhm.
masked up, things were shut down, closing early because of
Mhm.
COVID, not making any friends. And I'm just like, yo. But I remember meeting a lady at work at a work social.
Mhm.
And she told me, she said, "Oh, you're from the South like me?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Well, let me tell you this." She said, "Don't lose your home training.
Mm.
You moved up here, you're up north now, but don't lose your home training." And I kept that with me. I kept that with me to this day because I think about it. when you go through transitions and stuff, things that were instilled from you when you were a young age, it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna come out. It's gonna come into fruition. Things
Right.
that you didn't realize what your parents were doing, what your grandparents were doing then.
Mhm.
But sometimes it's an extra little that will get you through the day because there was a word that was spoken to years ago.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's,
So
yeah, yeah, and it comes when you need it the most. Like,
mhm.
then that's what's really powerful about it. But you just mentioned that you went to Africa for 5 weeks.
Yes,
Well, let's
yes, I
talk about
did.
that. What was that like? Because I've heard a lot of people who say they go to Africa and they just like their world changes. Like it's a very transformative experience. Like, so what is it like? Because we know there are a lot of bad stereotypes when people talk about Africa, but it's actually a very beautiful continent. And like I said, a lot of people say they just have a very life changing experience when they visit. So was it like that for you, or yeah?
Absolutely. That was my when I tell you it was like that for me.
Mm,
So my father's family is from the Gambia, West Africa,
mm,
and for my graduation, my dad he was like, "All right, we're going home. You're going to see, Gambia, see your family and everything." And that was my first time in Africa, like ever. So I remember flying. We flew from New York and we flew to Senegal. And
mm,
Gambia and Senegal, they border each other. They're sister countries.
mhm,
But we flew to Senegal, and I remember landing and walking outside of the airport, and I was just like, "Wow, I'm in Africa." And then
mm,
just driving through the Senegalese countryside to get to the Gambian border. So my journey was really like it was a long journey because I had to fly, we had to drive 4.5, 5 hours, then we had to cross by sea, well,
oh,
cross by foot, and then we had to cross by boat to get
foot.
to the other side. Oh yeah. So it's a
Oh,
land border. So we had to
oh,
walk across the Gambian border, but the culture shock that got me
mm-hmm.
was just seeing the people begging. And you always hear,
Mm,
the poverty in Africa, you always hear about it's poor.
mhm,
But seeing that it was getting there and I saw the kids
mm,
walking out of the car to cross the border and I saw kids just, sir, sir, any money, and I was just like, wow.
mhm,
And they just, it was like a line of kids. And, I was told, watch on to my surroundings. But just seeing
mhm,
that initially, it just made me, it just made me think we have so much to be grateful for. And
mm,
even going to different parts of the countryside in Gambia, I went
mhm,
to a wedding in a village, and even though the people didn't have much, they were
mm,
so happy. And one thing that I realized about my time in Gambia
mhm.
was just the community.
Yeah.
People talk about community a lot in a sense where it's what somebody else can do for you. But when I was in Gambia, I saw a different side of community. I
Mhm.
saw people come together from all walks of life. Didn't matter what religion you were, what tribe you were, what your ethnic affiliation was. I just saw people come together and help each other out. Even when I was over there, and my aunt unfortunately passed away while I was in Gambia. But I
Oh,
saw at her funeral, I would say it was almost like a movie how beautiful it was, but I saw people come just pour in and show love.
mhm,
And I think taking that from Gambia, my biggest takeaway from Gambia was love your community.
mhm.
It doesn't matter where you're at, what your earthly possessions are, but we have a bigger assignment.
Yeah,
God teaches us to love thy neighbor. And a lot of people talk about community, but
they don't.
you're not being communal, you're not being
Mhm,
neighborly. But what I saw in Gambia was truly neighborly, truly love. People who didn't even know me, they're like, "Oh, Americ boy," which was like American boy,
mhm,
speaking Wolof, or they're like Rasta boy, Rasta, talking about my locks. But
mhm,
they didn't know me from anything, and they were so kind to me to even work with my butchered Wolof because I would try to speak a little Wolof, and they're like, "Okay, this is how you say it right."
mhm.
And that experience just changed my life. If people have the chance to go to Africa, I would
Hmm.
say do it. Like 100% do it.
Wow. Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Oh, yeah, we'll definitely have to put that on my bucket list to go. But that's a very true point. Is you know when people talk about community, and even when they talk about generational wealth, they like you have to understand in order to get that you have to build
Yeah.
a community, and it can't we can't and we've kind of fallen into that I-ism, where it's all about me.
Yes.
But it's very lonely. You need other people around you. Like when I think about growing up, and we had some like we shared a village as well, but
Yeah.
like reflecting back, I needed those people because whenever and if there was something that my parents couldn't help with, then that's where I had a village to do that, and like I'm very grateful for that. And so that's a beautiful thing to have. And I do wish here in America and even like in our black community, like we really can fully embrace that more,
Yeah.
like and go back to our roots
Yeah.
and embrace that community. I think we would all just even when we talk about mental health be better because
Come
we have
on.
a support system there for us.
Yeah. And I,
Yeah.
and I think about the community that we grew up in, church, at the church, how much love it was, how
Yeah.
much love there. It was, I remember we would have Easter plays, Christmas plays, we would do different things, but
Hmm.
we all grew up close knit. Like we would get in there, do what we need to do, VBS,
Dance
Hallelujah
competitions.
Fest, dance company. Yeah, we. Nah, you wrong for that one. I caught that straight. Nah, I caught that straight. But it was so much love there. Just you know, the food. I just think about the food. Your dad's spaghetti.
Listen.
I still think about it to this day. But
Listen. I'm gonna tell him when he get back in town. Make
please
some
do.
spaghetti.
But so much love was there, and that's the
Yes.
thing. If we had that community, I mean, the church is the base of what community should look like. But if we were to emulate that outside,
Right.
where love is, we wouldn't have the ism, as you mentioned.
Mhm. Mhm.
People want to be, even in the creative space, people want to be like, put me on, put me on. But really, what I'm seeing, a lot of selfish people, you want to be put on to what? To better yourself, or are you trying to better those around you? That's the
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah. That's very true. Oh, it's very we are in like very selfish Americans. Like this culture. Like it's very selfish. Yeah. Don't even get started on the industry. Ooh.
That's a whole nother like,
Whole nother thing. But as a person who is always, doing motivational speeches and you're a writer and you also are in school, you pour out a lot. What do you do as a form of self-care to refuel yourself?
you know what? I'm learning that more because with being in grad school,
Mhm.
being in industry, and then on top of that, doing different, I guess, extracurriculars to the side,
Mhm.
it could be a lot sometimes. But I did experience a period of burnout, and I had to take that time to recalibrate. And I said, you know what? I said, you got to do something different. You
Mhm.
got to learn how to sit still and do nothing. And that's easier said than done. But I had to take moments where I had to put that phone in airplane mode,
Mm.
put on some music,
Mhm.
journal, sit still,
Mhm.
and just be in my own little world to relax. I like to create, I like to be on the go, I like to do. But
Mhm.
sometimes you can't always do that.
Right.
Sometimes your body needs to rest because you would be tired if you're always working, 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 working,
Yeah.
and not resting. You can't burn the candle on both ends. You're going to be tired.
Yeah.
So one thing I had to learn to do was slow down. If it can't happen today, make smart goals. Make smart goals. Is it? I forgot what smart stand. That's bad.
Smart.
But
Oh, wait, I use it every day. Hold on. Is it
see,
strategy? Is it the first one?
see, I forgot what SMART goes, but is it
Well,
specific,
yes.
measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound? So I
Yes.
told myself, if it's not time bound, if I can't do it today, don't try to break your back staying up all types of hours in the middle of the night, not sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
to get it done. Sometimes that could wait another day.
It
And I
sure
broke my
can.
goals down smaller, and that took a load off of my back.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, just sitting down, sometimes you just need to lay down, like
Yep.
sit down somewhere, because if you're just on the go constantly, burnout is real.
Burnout is
And
real.
being a highly motivated person that wants to get stuff done, it's like you're gonna burn yourself out, and you're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna be any good for anybody.
Yeah, that's very true. That's being in a space where I have to like my job is to be creative or to
Mhm.
write. I do a lot of writing. Like those breaks are so important. And I did have to learn how to just take breaks. Cause when you start a new job, you want to do good. You always, you want to
Mhm.
be so like studious and get things done. But I had to learn, like, listen, your brain needs a break,
Right.
especially if you are like producing something and you're bringing your creative ideas and strategic ideas to the table. So I'll have days. My guilty pleasure is television. I love TV. I reality TV, I like my reality TV. So that's the way that I relax. That's
Yeah.
how I just my mind can just not think about anything, look at other people's problems. I also like strategy games. Like
Mm.
it's a whole thing.
Strategy games. You gotta expound upon that. What do you mean strategy games? Hold
So
on.
that's like Big Brother traders.
Oh, okay, okay.
Those type of games where like you're gaming, like they're gamer games. I get all into it, but for me, like yes, they do bring some level of stress, but for me it's good stress. Because it just
I
gives
mean,
my brain to still work, right? Because
yeah,
I'm a very analytical person, but it doesn't matter. It's a game. So that's something that I just love to do to just get my brain off of whatever I'm working on
yeah,
or
yeah,
need to,
yeah.
to take a break. And usually in those moments, that's when, okay, the juices start flowing because I've just let my brain relax. So doing that is so important. Please,
It
like,
is.
just take those moments. They're so
And
important.
it's so important. And lately, what I've been doing is, sometimes you feel like you have to get things done in that moment,
Right.
and some
Yeah.
things are urgent. Like you do have to
Right.
get it done.
Mhm.
But lately, what I've been doing, like you said, making your brain still work without
Mhm.
working.
Mhm.
That's the good thing. So you don't want to just be idle. But I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and audiobooks.
Mm. Mhm.
So like on my Saturday mornings when I'm cleaning, straightening up my spot and everything, podcasts,
Mhm.
audiobooks, because my
Mhm.
brain is still absorbing information.
Right.
I'm working, but I'm still keeping that flow of information going. So it's like mentally, I'm still satisfied where I can check something off. Oh, you finished 3 podcast episodes today. You learned about XYZ. You
Mhm.
finished this book. You
Mhm.
know, it still keeps my brain going. So those times of rest, especially us being 20 somethings, we don't want to reach 30 and get burnt out.
Right. That's so true. That's so true. I'm gonna try to be like you and actually also do educational things.
I mean, listen, watching TV ain't nothing wrong with it. Like that's okay. Listen, to each his own. I would say this, like enjoy your
Mhm.
downtime.
Mhm.
Me, I need to learn how to watch more TV and stuff and catch up on shows. So I might ask you for some shows after this episode's done.
Listen. But yeah, I this was a good conversation. And I think it's so important, especially like up and coming professionals do need to know the balance of it and or of working and but also how to keep going and really because this is a new space. This is different for us. And it's a different environment too, because it's not the same as it was for our parents or anything.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, this is good. I done pretty much asked you everything I want to ask you.
We just been rocking and rolling. It's
Right,
like,
rocking and rolling. Well, I guess tell me about you because you've like I mentioned earlier, you have a partnership with higher education, and then you also did a TED talk. Like that's pretty amazing. Talk about that.
yeah, so I do work with different nonprofits in the past. I've volunteered while in school. So currently I do serve and volunteer with Higher Foundation, which is a Georgia-based nonprofit that
Mhm.
provides educational services to students across the state of Georgia. Um, and really, what Higher does, Higher supports students financially, but they also provide mentorship to students across
Mm.
the state. As a student at Georgia Tech, I was able to benefit from Higher because I was met with mentors. I was also guided throughout my educational journey. And
Mhm.
then during finals week, I got a finals care package. So Higher Foundation really looked out for me during my time at Georgia Tech, and I'm grateful because had it not been Higher, some of the things that probably would have been difficult for me to face, I didn't encounter because I
Mm.
had guidance from Higher. And
Mhm.
I remember struggling with my classwork, keeping up with everything. And I remember um, my mentor, she guided me through how to create a study schedule. And with that, creating that structure and getting that balance, because at the time when I was at Georgia Tech, I was a double major. So I
Oh,
majored in biology and Spanish language.
oh
So
wow.
balancing STEM classes, Spanish major classes, I was kind of fighting for my life all times of the day. So trying to find that
Mhm.
balance, but learning how
Mhm.
to get on a schedule and a routine, that's one thing that Higher Foundation helped me with. But in return, as a graduate and a grad student, now that I do know and have a little bit of a hang, I want to help more students figure out their flow, figure out their path.
Mhm.
So working with different nonprofits over the course of the years, volunteering as a student mentor, and I do come back to Georgia to do some things as well. So actively still involved. I'm actively involved in Georgia despite living in Boston.
Mhm. Mm. And
And
as far as going on TED Talk, I mean, let's talk
so
about
that
it. Yeah, how did that happen? That's
so
major.
that and it still doesn't feel real because when I look back and I'm just like, wow, you really did a TED Talk at 22. Like that's you were really built
You
different.
doing
Um,
something. You doing
So that opportunity came, given doing a TED Talk, that was my dream for a while. I was like, I'm gonna give a TED Talk one day. I'm gonna give a TED Talk. So TEDx Georgia Tech, they have a TEDx sector on campus. And I
Mm.
like being an up and coming speaker, it's like if
Mhm.
you do a TED Talk, that's golden. Like, I was like, I want to do a TED Talk. I want to do the challenge of standing up, speaking for 10, 13 minutes in front of an audience. I applied for TED Talk probably two or three times before I got it.
Wow.
And what taught me? Delayed doesn't mean denied. So just because you're
Nope.
delayed or you're denied something three, four, five times doesn't mean it won't open up for you. And it
Mhm.
just so happened that that door opened up for me during my last semester of undergrad.
Mhm.
And I remember just being so, it was an unreal feeling because during the time of the speech, I was just coming back from a conference in New York
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I felt underprepared and I was just so anxious because I was like, wow, this is finally your moment, but you're not prepared.
Mhm.
And then I remember
Ooh.
sometimes the preparation comes years before. All those things that you were doing before building up, that was all character development.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? You're more than prepared.
Yep,
You
you
know how
just
to
gotta
talk.
embrace it.
You know
Mhm.
how to interact. And
Mhm.
that's when I stepped into that moment fully.
Mhm.
And I can say that was just a blessing to be able to have done that at 22. But it inspires me to keep going.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. That's so cool. Like, ooh, to be up there and just pour into people, and especially on something like a TED Talk. I mean, a lot of people don't get that opportunity. So that's great, Edward. That is so good.
Listen, it's I've come a long I've
Yes.
come a long ways. So it's any opportunity that is to empower and build people,
Mhm.
I'm on that immediately because I know what it takes to get somewhere. I'm still making it, still trying to figure it out, but I
Mhm.
want other people to make it too. Like we're all in this together. Like High
We
School
are.
Musical, we all in this together.
In this don't get me started, okay?
Hey,
I know choreography.
we know Raven Simone.
Listen, don't. Don't let
I
the
had
people
to. I
know.
had to pull that out. I had to say it.
Listen, for those who know, okay?
Oh yeah.
So I want us to move into some games, or a game.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
game, but I want us to have some
Okay.
fun. I'm call it so in this next segment, we are going to play what I like to call here on the Lion's Den claws and confessions. It's rapid fire questions. I'm going to ask a few questions, not too many, and you just give your answers to them. Okay?
Okay.
You
Okay.
know, some might
Okay.
be funny, some might be a little shady, some might just be, you know,
Okay. Okay.
motivational, I guess. All right, you ready? Okay, wait, he's getting his drink.
Yeah, I was a little
Okay.
thirsty.
He's got to prepare. You don't know what's going to
I'm
happen at
ready.
the den. All right. So, you ready? Here we go. First question. What's your go-to motivational song?
um, Optimistic. By change, I forgot who sings it. Um, you can win as long as you keep your head to the sky. Be
Oh,
optimistic. Sounds of Blackness.
yes.
Optimistic. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. What is one overhyped piece of motivational advice you think is complete nonsense?
Being a jack of all trades.
Ooh, what do you mean by that?
And I would
Ooh.
say people don't read the full quote. It's like something along the lines, and I'm paraphrasing this, but you could be a jack of all trades but a master of none. And
Mm.
what I think people should do is learn how to get really good at one skill and then
Mhm.
expound upon that other skill. So specialize in one
Right.
and then use that one skill to build in different skills.
Makes
Cause
sense to me.
cause I mean, trying to do it all, I tried that. And then that's why I was looking like something crazy. So it's like, nah, you need to learn how to just do one thing well and then move on to different use that, specialize it, and then move on to different segments.
Yeah, that
You don't want
that's
to be
good.
out here looking crazy. I'm talking about I
Right.
was looking so crazy, locks sticking up, waking up, trying to get stuff done. Scared. I woke up and looked in the mirror and scared my own self. So no, you don't want you don't want that.
But that's true though, because I know people like that. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this, and you're just like, settle, relax,
Center
finish
yourself.
this, finish, complete this goal, and then help do the other things you want to do. So that's a whole thing there too.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Anyway, what's your favorite place to travel and why? Because you travel a lot.
This is hard. This is hard. Okay. Does it have to be limited to one location or can I do multiple?
Sure, you can do multiple.
All right, I will have to say, gosh, this is so hard. Okay, Costa Rica.
Oh.
Costa Rica to me was just unreal. I took a solo trip there when I was 22. Um,
Mm.
that was like my first time ever doing a solo trip, and I went for a week. And when I tell you, it taught me to be scared of nothing.
Mm.
Like I was in the middle of a jungle. I got a cabin out there. I lived with it was like a family. They had a hotel business, but I had my own cabin. So I can hear the toucans, the animals, I hear everything. And I didn't have Wi-Fi or a signal while out there.
Oh,
So I remember walking to like the main office, and the guy was like, "Temporado hay pumas." And I was like, "Qué?" I was like, "Repite, señor." He was like, "Temporado hay pumas," which just mean like, "Be careful, there's pumas." And I was like, "I'm walking out here trying to get Wi-Fi, and there's pumas walking around." Now let me take my black behind back. I'm good. I'm good. Better sit down and journal.
oh
So
Lord.
Costa Rica, like just being in the rainforest, being with nature,
Mm.
that was so healing. And it's like I can breathe.
Oh,
I could breathe just the fresh air. And then second, I would have to say I had the time of my life in Paris, France.
really? You know,
In
Paris.
Paris,
People not really feeling Paris no more. Were you? Did you
I
go
mean,
countryside or?
I was in the city, so I
Hmm.
know people. Paris is such a popular destination, and people don't. I guess people don't really like Paris because
Mhm.
there's so many hypes. Now, I will say this: Paris is like any city. When people think Paris is clean, it's like any city. Like it's. I'm just gonna be real with you. Paris is, but I had the time of my life, and it was the cultural aspect. I think the Black Parisians made my experience great.
Ooh, okay.
So
Hmm.
they just took me in. It was, there's a lot of Africans, there's a lot of Caribbean people there, and they
Mm.
literally just took my friends and I in, and we just Paris was nice. But they did think I was Senegalese. It's so funny. People were walking up to me speaking Wolof, and I'm just like, oh, I just tell them back in Wolof, no, I don't understand, like, haha. And they were like, Senegalese, Senegalese. But I use that to my advantage because even though I don't speak much Wolof, I still was able to fit in, and they treated me like they're one of their own.
Okay. Cool. All right. All
Yeah,
right.
those two countries, top tier in my book. I know people don't like Paris, but for me, I love Paris.
Hmm. All right. Next question. What's your favorite dance move? The Wu Tang or Stinky Leg?
Nah. Why you had to bring that up, Lauren?
So, for those who don't know, it's an insider because while they would be in church, we would be in the back while they were in Bible study, and we would just be having a time. I mean, Nicki Minaj raps were happening, yes, in church. Dancing was
Ooh.
happening. It was the whole thing. So I had to, you
Yo.
know, sneak that in there.
Uh, I can't believe you know what? I can't believe you did that. But yeah, we were having those dance battles in the back of church during Bible study. To this day, I don't think they know until this is released. I don't think they know we're actually doing it. But you know, we live and we learn. I would go with the Wu Tang.
Okay, that makes sense. You did
And
that one.
on a good day, I still got it.
Oh, okay.
On a good day, I
Listen,
still got it.
the folks need to see. The folks, we want to see
The
that.
folks not gonna see. Only special occasions, folks not gonna see.
Listen, I hear you on that. Last question. Is it true Afrotech is the place to make love connections?
Oh my god.
But people want to know. Our
Okay,
people.
I would say. I would say I don't want to talk bad about the conference because one, they
Mm.
paid for me to go,
Oh,
but I will
if
say
if
this.
you're on TikTok, you kind of It's all a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, yeah. I
So
would say
yeah.
this. I would say this. In a sense, I'm gonna keep it real. It seemed like it was a lot of people trying to get their date on.
Mm,
I would say if you were to pay $795 for the educational value that I got while there,
mm-hmm.
no. 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 Um, I feel
Mm,
like it was a lot of people, it was kind of crowded. I would say if you're
mm,
trying to meet somebody like network, you're gonna
mm-hmm.
meet some cool people. But if you're trying to get your date on, see your future spouse and stuff, yeah, that's gonna be the place to go. But I would say where you meet him or her, go to the after events. So they have
Oh,
a lot of like day brunches, mixers, all that. Go to those. That's where you meet people.
ooh, okay.
So I mean, just putting it out there, I would say like next year's in Houston, I believe. So and start early. Please start early with like hotels, everything, because getting a hotel for Afrotech was crazy. The Uber
Mm,
was expensive.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, Other than that, I would say if you're going for like career stuff, people weren't really on that. People was not on that, like for real. It was more like for me, I was there seeing people that I knew.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would walk around and I'm like, oh wow, it's been years. Like that's crazy. We would catch up. I saw some of my former mentors. We would grab lunch and stuff. But it seemed like more people were there for networking.
Mm.
So that's
Networking
just my
or
take on it.
networking? Sound
Yeah,
like
trying to, flirting and stuff. I'm just like, all right, auntie, you gotta go, gone on somewhere.
listen, what it sound like to me is me and my friends need to go ahead and make a trip. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, or you can go to InvestFest. Afrotech InvestFest. InvestFest is right in Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Nah, I mean, I'm just saying. No, I'm saying like the conferences where Black people are. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Oh, it's people coming to Atlanta.
yes.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
No, I'm talking
Okay.
about different conferences just to go go to. Like, there's different. There's like things in New York. There's things in LA.
Mm,
Like, I would say honestly, outside of like looking for people to date and stuff, I would
mhm,
say just going to conferences are fun because you meet very cool people. I've met some of my bestest friends to this day
mm.
just by going to conferences.
Yeah, I've always liked conferences. They're fun. They're fun. I like conferences. I do. Well, that was all of the questions that I have. I hope you
I'm gonna
enjoyed the
get you
game.
for that Wu Tang question. That was you slipped that one in. That threw me off guard.
Of course, it wouldn't be the Lions Den if we didn't have a little shade. But the last segment, which I like to do and leave room or space for my guests, we like to call it Touch Grass. This is where you get to say whatever you want. If you want to rant about something, if you want to leave a motivational message to people, you can do whatever you want to do. I'm going to give you 10 seconds and you get to just talk. The floor is truly yours. All right? Are you ready? 1 second. For those watching on YouTube, yes, the battery is about to die.
Okay,
All right.
so I'm ready.
Are you ready? Here we
I have 10 seconds,
go.
right?
10 seconds. Yes.
Okay. All right. I would say this: love yourself from the inside on out. And what I mean by love yourself from the inside, you have flaws, you have imperfections, you have things going on, but that doesn't make you any different from the next person. You have to love all that about you, and then you have to take those things and build upon it. You may not be perfect, but you're a work in progress and you're still working towards something. So love yourself and give yourself a chance. And then listen to this. It doesn't matter where you're coming from, but it's all about where you're going. So look towards that.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Edward, for joining me today. It has
Thank
been
you.
a pleasure. Thank you guys for listening or watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And you can also stream us on all platforms as well. Thank you. And this has been The Lion's Den. See you
Thank
guys
you.
later.
See y'all.